Poddin My Noggin, hosted by CK Sims, creating a platform to elevate, educate, and heal by creating a space where people can share their stories of struggle, triumph, and redemption. CKS Media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Poddin My Noggin. I'm your host, CK Sims, and today we're joined by the spiritual Dr. Seuss, Scott Grace. Welcome to the show, Scott. How are you doing?
Thank you, CK. On behalf of the doctor, we are both very good. Glad to be
Very good. So, Scott, I have to tell you something. You sent me a message introducing yourself on the medium that we use to find guests and hosts and that sort of thing called Podmatch. And you said, you thought that we'd have a great time having a conversation. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And I did a quick look, I think. And I was like, yeah, all right, lines up with, from a surface level, with what I'm looking for in a guest. And I hit accept. Now, as a rule of thumb, I do not do any deep dives on my guests until pretty much the day of, and typically within the hour and a half before the show. And the reason I do this is because I don't want to ruminate on a guest and develop too much of a line of questions or preconceived notions, if you will.
or an emotional attachment.
There you go. Right, exactly. So I do, and it works very well for me. And then I think it was a lunchtime today because I knew my afternoon was busy and I had a hard stop at 4 Eastern time to do this interview, which we know now got sidelines, but it happens. So I went on and I viewed your form and was reading through your form, and I was like, oh, okay, spiritual Dr. Seuss. And I'm like, this is an interesting thing. So I click on your website and I find myself on your spiritual Dr. Seuss page with your videos. And I watched the first one. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching. And I'm watching your body language and your intonation and how you space your words and how you purposely grab your chin when you're talking, when you're making a point. Yes. And I'm actually blown away by a couple of things, to be honest with you. I was blown away by the poignancy of that Dr. Seuss, spiritual Dr. Seuss video that I watched. So much so that I immediately sent it to my sister and was like, you have to watch this. He's going to be on my show later. I'm like, I want to hear your thoughts. I was fascinated. So one of the things that blew me away is how the heck did you memorize 9+ minutes of that poem? Like, I don't know if I could do that. That's impressive. But let's get into it. Tell us, Doctor. I'm going to say Doctor, but yeah, Dr. Seuss, spiritual Dr. Seuss, Scott Grace. Who is Scott Grace? How did Scott Grace start out?
Scott Grace is a fictional character invented by the spiritual Dr. Seuss, who one day said, you know what? What if I was just a normal human being? So my altered ego created the ego called, all right, I'm just teasing. So the question is, who is Scott Grace?
Yeah.
I'm a work in progress. I'm still finding out. I am hot. I'm a sex symbol, reluctant. I live in poetry, comedy, vulnerability, fantasy, desire to help people, the desire to boost my ego and never feel bad about myself again. I'm multifaceted, multi-talented, multi-neurotic, and I have split personalities. And in this moment, we're all doing okay.
Beautiful. I'm curious about this is Scott Grace today, right? Who was Scott Grace 25, 30 years ago?
I was, let's say, 30. Well, I would say that I lived a charmed life, not realizing just how magical things were and how how I was helping the world. I was feeling like this just nagging sense that I could do more, I should do more, I'm not doing enough, I'm not enough, I'm too lazy. But meanwhile, as I look back 30 years ago, I was producing music, traveling around the world. I had a freaking great thing going on, and I was just looking at it through dark colored glasses. And now I look back and I'm like, whoa, that Scott had it good.
But in the time that Scott wasn't aware that he had it good.
Well, part of me was, but really I didn't have the contrast. See, after that, I went through having to get a real job. I went through deep relationship loss and things that humbled me and flattened me. And I learned from everything, failure, success, everything is great teacher. But boy, did all of that increase my appreciation and reverence for how life was for me in my 20s and 30s.
I love that. And it's not everyone's journey, because not everyone goes through that adversity and comes out in a state of reflection and gratitude. Some people get
Mm.
stuck in that state of
Yeah.
darkness,
Yeah.
if you
You
will.
can build an
Or,
identity and build a world around it.
yeah.
And
And
it's,
if you go through that adversity, you have the opportunity to come out the other side different.
yeah.
When did you So you're a musician, songwriter,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay? You did that for many years and were successful in it. You stated that you had to get a real job. Something shifted in that world for you?
Yeah. And it was COVID. Um, couldn't
Oh,
travel. I didn't make the switch as a musician to finding ways to do the online thing. So I did have to get I got two part-time jobs. One at a grocery store, Sprouts, and the other with a company called Well, no, the company is called Man Cave America, a Bay Area tech company run by someone who got to know me through my music and heard that I was in financial strait. This is a good story, by the way. It's worth it. So he heard I was in financial. Yeah, I told him, yeah, I'm not making ends meet. He said, well, this may not be your thing, but we could use some help, customer service, data entry. So I was desperate enough to take the job, and I didn't like data entry, and I did enjoy when people called. But anyway, this was so out of my comfort zone and so menial, and I just hated it. But my boss, I guess about 6 months into me working, he just stumbled upon one of my books. He didn't know I was an author. And he read it and he was like, Scott, you're a really good writer. My goodness. And I want you to start writing some essays for me on different things about men and masculinity. And he gave me some subjects and I wrote about them and I got really excited because it was like all of this wisdom and storytelling and everything was coming out of me. I didn't realize how much I had to say about masculinity. And I told him, I think there's a book here. And he ended up, in a sense, paying me by the hour to write a book. And it's my most recent book. It's called Mindful Masculinity, a book for men and the women who love them. And that's not me on
yeah.
the cover, by the way. Yeah. So in a sense, taking this so-called menial job, it helped me write a book I never would have written. And I got paid for it.
So mindful masculinity.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Sure.
masculinity as a whole in the world at this moment seems to be a very hot topic,
Mm-hmm.
seems to be a very divisive topic. I heard someone say not too long ago, and it made me pause and think that's a very tough time to be a straight white man. I heard that. And it made me pause for a second because I am a stark feminist, always have been. And my knee-jerk reaction was to be like, yeah, right. However, it made me pause for a second, and I thought to myself, well, the world is getting smaller for the straight white male masculinity, if you will. Like there's space to be toxic masculinity, all of those things. They're often in the media, they're being lashed out on. And in a lot of ways, I think that's good because they need to be put in check. However, it made sense for what this person was saying. It wasn't coming from a place of like, oh, poor straight white man. It was just an observation. So what's really interesting to me is the topic of masculinity, and then to add mindfulness to that masculinity. So what would your definition of mindful masculinity be?
It would be self-awareness without self-analysis, being able to observe without necessarily evaluating or judging. Observe what's inside. Most men know more about what's inside under the hoods of their cars than what's driving their psyches or sabotaging their psyches.
Mm-hmm.
So
I talked about this once on a podcast, and I'll tell you what I want to tell you what I said.
You want to tell me right now?
Yeah, I want to tell you right now.
Wait, in front of all these people?
In front of all of these people, yes.
Oh my God, okay.
So I had a conversation. I'm trying to remember who it was with, and that's escaping me because I do have a memory like a goldfish. We were talking about men, right? I particularly love men, so here we are. But what we were talking about was the inability for the modern man, or any man, it seems, to regulate their emotions and to express what they're feeling. And the conversation is something that's important to me because men's mental health has been overlooked forever. And I want to tell my theory, my thought, it's not a theory, it's fact, is they were never shown how. Like right from being a child, the first boo-boo they have on their leg or time they fall, they're told to toughen up. Big boys don't cry. All of these things. So they are taught from in their formative years to not emote, to not learn how to process emotions, how to form them into sentences, to state what it is they're feeling, what they require, what they're lacking. This is not just from their moms and their dads, it's from their uncles and authoritative figures in their lives, at the school, in the media.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so there's an element of, and I say this, and I mean it, and it's not a carte blanche, but a lot of it is not their fault because this is what they've been fed their whole lives. I like the saying that your trauma is not your fault, but your recovery is your responsibility, right?
Yeah, that covers it.
Mindful masculinity, does it subscribe to anything? Does it talk about owning your emotions? Does it talk
Absolutely.
about
Absolutely. This is a book for men to introduce the idea of emotional intelligence. Is there emotional intelligence possible for men? Yes. And there's a section that I call Emotional Intelligence, the Massive Masculine Migration from Macho to Mindful. And there's a warning in this section. It says, warning, the contents of this section are designed to significantly raise your EQ. Certain chapters may cause feelings to be felt, at times with intensity. For us men, feelings are like passengers on airplanes stuck in a holding pattern for years. they've been waiting an awfully long time for the air traffic controller to stop controlling them. Thus, in preparation for landing, please fasten your seatbelts. It will get bumpy. And there's a chapter on our men's addiction to not feeling fear. Biggest addiction we got is don't admit fear. Then there's a chapter on anger called Men on Fire. There's a chapter on grief. There's a chapter on fear. And of course, there's a chapter on joy.
Because they should be allowed to experience that, right? They're human.
All four of the major food groups that I mentioned. Yeah. Sad, scared, glad, and mad. They almost rhyme, right?
Almost.
Those are the basic four food groups for emotion, and every other emotion can fit into one of those categories.
And so, have you seen noticeable reception to this book?
Well, it hasn't made me a millionaire, CK, but it does help men grow. And there's actually more women reviewing it on Amazon. So I'm imagining about 60, maybe 70% of the readers are women. And I'm not surprised. I'm not
surprised either.
Yeah.
My podcast caters, while I think it would cater to men as well, but my audience is 96% women from the ages 24 to 44 at this current time. But it starts somewhere, right? But I think it's the conversation that we have to have, and we have to continue having, letting men know that it's okay to actually have feelings. And this is not woke, and that it's not taking away from what being a man is all about. It is how you said it in your book. You just read it. How did you put it? It went from macho to mindful.
The massive masculine migration from macho to mindful.
I love that.
I could have threw a few more M's in there, but my editor said that's enough, Scott.
That's enough. So I mean, it's interesting too that you've written this book. Now I want to read it, and I hope other people read it as well. We can buy it on
Amazon. You can go to my website and click on the book, and it'll take you to the Amazon, or you can just go directly to Amazon, type in my name and the words mindful masculinity.
I love this. So everybody go purchase this book. I would love to read it.
And also I want to say that the Audible version would be my recommendation, because as I read it, I'm throwing in clips of my music, and there's a 3-hour bonus material concert after it's all over.
Oh, okay. So the Audible version on Amazon is your recommendation for consumption.
Absolutely. Yeah, let your ears have it.
A massive consumer of books and literature. I do not like Audible, and not Audible specific audio books. I know, but this is the thing. I've tried it, and I don't like being read.
I don't like it either.
I like to read.
I love holding a book.
It's that, there's something romantic for me to hold a book and read it and get lost in those pages. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk more with Scott Grace, or one of his alter egos, about the work of the spiritual Dr. Seuss. We'll be right back.
This month, join our Valentine's Quilt Sweepstakes, hosted by Poddin My Noggin and made by CK Sims. Enter for the chance to win the Valentine's quilt and matching pillow by subscribing to Poddin My Noggin's YouTube channel. The sweepstakes will run from February 1st to February 28th, when the winner will be announced. Additionally, you can receive 10 extra entries by purchasing the Easy Beginners Digital Quilt Pattern Valentine's Edition. Check out the sweepstakes rules below and access the link in the description to enter today.
Partner today with CK Sims and Poddin My Noggin to get in front of an audience that cares. You will be supporting mental health stories, tales of resilience, and uplifting content, aligning your brand with bringing goodness, authenticity, and kindness front and center. This spot could be yours. Do you have a story of struggle and resilience? One that you want to share with others and possibly help someone through their own struggles? Find the link in the show description and fill out the guest form today.
Welcome back, everybody. Before the break, I was talking to Scott Grace. It is Scott Grace that I'm speaking with right now, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, just wanted to double check. Scott Grace has written a book called Mindful Masculinity, and what a wonderful and extraordinarily important topic. You can pick this up on Amazon. Also, his recommendation for anybody who loves an audiobook or wants to try out an audiobook, go the audiobook route for this one, because he is also a musician. He includes music throughout the book, and there is a 3-hour additional bonus material at the end of the audiobook. So might be some really good value for your buck there. Go check it out. You can also visit his website at www.scottsongs.com. Now, Mr. Grace, I'd love to speak to your alter ego, the spiritual Dr. Seuss. Now, you can stay if you wish. If he's busy, I get it. You can speak on his behalf. So you hit the pandemic. You needed work. You started doing. You worked at Sprouts, and you worked at this other mancave.ca.
America.
Man
Cave America.
And at first, it was sort of menial to you, but then your boss found a book that you had written, and you started writing essays about masculinity, and this morphed into the book that we were just speaking about. At what point did you also discover that you had a sick talent for rhyming?
A sick talent.
Yes. That's what the young folk, and
High
I don't
praise.
Yeah.
That's like Michael Jackson calling you bad.
Yeah, there you go. It's like, really though, you talk about such incredible topics through this medium, and you make it comedic.
Yeah.
And you make it really poignant. Like, the stuff you say gets delivered in such a way I find people are more open to receive, because they're laughing with you along the way.
Are you saying the stuff I say gets people out of the way of letting it start to penetrate their heart? Are you saying that I'm heart smart? CK, what do you say? Is there something brewing within that makes you, CK Sims, want to hear from a little Dr. Seuss who's ready to cut loose?
So it's natural for you.
Oh yeah, I can do a whole talk in rhyme.
Now, you have, okay, so now I have to ask you this question. The one on your website, I watched 2 today on your website, by the way, and I'm going to tell you which ones they were right now. And I will actually watch the remainder when I have the time, because I really enjoyed them. I'm just popping over to your website super quick so I can remember the exact names. Where are you? I got right there. Okay. So if you go to Scott Grace or scottsongs.com and you just scroll down a little bit, you can click on the little purple tab, the spiritual.
Sounds like acid.
Yeah. So so this is the one that really caught my attention first. If Dr. Seuss preached the gospel of easy, and it's cut off, it's truncated, so I can't see the rest of it.
Easy does it.
Easy does it. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, but okay, so what's really beautiful about this is when I clicked on it, I was expecting something very different, very different. I was not expecting the poignant, I guess, if that makes sense. That wasn't what I was expecting. I think I I hear if Dr. Seuss preached the gospel, and I'll blow your mind for a moment. I am a gay Christian, an oxymoron, if you will, according to so many. Um, when I clicked on it, I was immediately wrapped up in the words that you were saying. Now you cannot tell me. This is my question to you. I'm so all over the place today because I'm just scatterbrained. But you did not make that up. Did you make that up like in the moment?
No, no.
Oh,
The poems, and I'll be happy to share one with you that you haven't seen. They come like a transmission. I do receive them rather than attempt to create anything. But it takes an average of 2 months not to receive the transmission. The transmission comes pretty quickly, but to craft it because it doesn't
mm.
come with Seussian exact rhyming rhythm. And so I have to craft it. And it takes an average of 2 months. Also to memorize. My
Well,
goodness.
that's just the piece, like the memorization
Yeah.
alone. Well,
Oh,
because I was already blown away with. I think I mentioned this earlier in the podcast was how you memorize something that was 9+ minutes long. But then when you just said I could make it up on the go and do a talk, I was like, "There's no way." Like I think I would have imploded if you told me that you did what you did in this video just off the seat of your
oh
pants.
gosh. Oh gosh. Well, no. But you know what? Memorizing it, CK, not a big deal. I would just spend 5 minutes a day for a few weeks. It really wasn't a big deal. I get more like enchanted when I watch a movie and for 2 hours the actor is talking and that's a lot of dialogue. Whereas
Yes.
this is 7 minutes, 9 minutes of dialogue. So I'm not that impressed with the memorizing.
Well, I am impressed with the memorizing without question because
I
I
honor
mentioned
your
it.
impression.
But I'm also impressed with the delivery, the body movement, the commitment to what it is you're saying, the
Mm.
comedic relevance that you interweave into the whole that whole monologue. Really is what I think. And then I'm listening, I'm having a giggle, but I can hear people in your audience also having a giggle because and I just think to myself, this is mad brilliant to do this because when are people most vulnerable? When they're laughing and experiencing joy.
Mm.
They're more
Mm.
receptive to receiving
I
in
believe
that state of
so.
mind.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
brilliant the way you've delivered this. You said you have one I haven't seen, and I won't. Will I get to see here? Is this a?
I am itching to share one with you and your
Oh well, I am
audience.
itching to hear one right now. Everybody, I have
Okay.
to set it up. Okay, the amazing Mr. Scott Grace as the spiritual Dr. Seuss is taking the floor to deliver us a
The
monologue.
poem is called How the Guilt Stole Christmas. And here's Scott, the doctor. So there's a teacher inside you who teaches you lessons. His favorite word should is a sign of his presence. He shoulds on you till you're so deep in depression. You do things that make your priest gasp at confession. The teacher is guilt, and he's doing his best to whip you in shape so you'll be a success. When he fears you've screwed up, he whips your behind the way jockeys whip horses to quicken their time. He's the guilt that stole Christmas, your personal Grinch, and he'll take a whole mile if you give him an inch. He lives in your basement, that's where he resides. Alone in the darkness, he schemes and he hides. So let's grab a light and head down to the cellar to expose and illumine this cagey cave dweller. Because most of us do not become motivated. When guilt's on our case, we just want it sedated. So we do our addictions to drown out the noise or become grade A worker bees, good girls and boys. Straight A's, nothing less in your quest for perfection, in the hopes your achievements give God an erection. But God always gives you a standing ovation, adoring you with the most pure adoration. It's guilt that imagines that God could be pissed, which makes you walk on eggshells afraid of his fist, or possibly drives you to be atheist, or at least a type A perfectionist. So many kinds of guilt. There's so, guilt can arise from so many sources. Let's name just a few as a matter of courses. There's guilt from religion, original sin, humanity's birth defect, pass me the gin. There's sexual guilt when you've just done the naughty, and sometimes there's guilt when you just had the thoughty. There's guilt when you did something wrong and got caughty, and guilt when you didn't do something you oughty. There's parental guilt installed by your folks who tried to protect you and teach you the ropes. There's guilt when you've gained weight and gotten too curvy. There's no end to the reasons you could feel unworthy. Now, if you're a Catholic, guilt can be addressed in a booth once a week. Hail a cab and confess. And if you're not Catholic, you still can unload. You can pay for a shrink so your head won't explode. Because when you keep guilt in a dark, dark place, it inflates until it explodes in your face. That's why we nickname our therapists shrink, because they help us deflate all the hot air we think. Now, when you got guilt, you're on your own case, and your head's like a courtroom, a humorless place. The district attorney outlines your trespasses as if he was wearing a dark pair of glasses, glasses that block out your goodness and light. He's your prosecution, and he might win this fight. Not so fast, says your diligent defense attorney, who presents all the good things you've done on your journey. Objection, objection, the DA protests and presents more proof that in truth, you're a mess. And on these attorneys, they fight all night and all day and all night, both trying to be heard and trying to be right. When they cross-examine, battle, and spar, they both have no clue of the true you are. Because the you down in Trueville is never on trial. Underneath your adult, there's an innocent child whose report card in truth has no guilt to report. Your case has been settled and laughed out of court. There's no judge or jury, and it's starting to dawn. Being stuck in your head is not where you belong. So you take off your tight, stuffy courtroom attire and slip into whatever your heart does desire. Your heart, not your head, is now leading the way, which leads you back to church from your childhood days. The priest in the booth says, "My child, where have you been? It's been decades. I'm ready to hear some new sins." But nothing prepares him for what he hears next. It's more blasphemous than the scandalous sex. "Father, forgive me, for I've been pretending that something was wrong with me that needed mending. I thought there were hoops that I must jump through first before being happy and knowing my worth. But now I have found that the treasures on earth are here in this moment, this temple, this church. Oh, the moments I missed and the love I denied me to atone for some guilt that I thought had to guide me. But I'm off of the cross now, and I finally can say, I confess that I'm innocent. Goodbye and good day.
That was wonderful. That was wonderful.
It's one of the first times I really felt it, CK, because the times that I've performed it live, there's been a time constraint, and I've been told to keep it under a certain amount of time. So I kind of speeded through it a lot. And this is the first time I felt like I was really feeling every line. It's my story.
I love this. So that is your story. That is Scott Grace's story.
Except I never was raised Catholic. I had
but it makes
nice...
for a good line. So you know what I mean? To bring it back and close it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's part of what, why I sent if Dr. Seuss preached the gospel of Easy Does It to my sister immediately. And I got her to watch the Oh Dear, the End of Times Are Here as well as the other one. My sister we have a lot of self-proclaimed Christians in the world whose actions and words don't add up, right? And my sister's one of those people who lives to love, to forgive, and to show the world a version of herself that she believes Jesus was. What he represents is love thy neighbor, forgiveness, tolerance, all of those things. So I really wanted her to view it. And you do say a couple things in there, like the God, when you said God, the part about God having an erection, I was like, oh, dude. I was like, but you get visceral reactions, right? Because you're taught.
CK, this is funny because that was the way I originally wrote it. And then I shared it with a feedback audience. And one of the main things people said is, don't mention that. It'll turn people off. It's only funny to a minority of people. Other people, it might just turn them off to the rest of the poem. So I changed it to win God's affection. And I've been doing that way for years.
But you just gave me the original way. And I found the original way. So I wasn't offended. I had a visceral reaction, almost like oh, did he just say that?
Exactly.
But it wasn't like it wasn't a shut down, right? I think you have to be open-minded, and I think that's what you do really, really quite poignantly, is you mix in the comedic and some of those shock value statements, right? But keep the listener on please, somebody go strangle that cock. Is that what I'm hearing? Is a rooster?
Oh, in my house?
Yes. Is that what I'm hearing? Is there a rooster?
You're hearing? Yeah, there's roosters all the time here. I'm in Mexico.
Okay, perfect.
I can't believe you can hear it though. It's not bothering me.
I'm hearing it over there. That's why I decided to throw out there. I'm like, somebody go strangle that cock already. So that's the part that I love about it, is that you talk about such really important things. The message in these poems kind of strips away all of the bullshit, right? There's a lot of bullshit with Christianity and gospel and guilt and all the societal subscriptions that we're fed from childhood. When you strip that away and you accept the fact that you are perfectly imperfect, there's no such thing as perfection. That is a societal thing, a societal sort of messaging to keep you thinking you're not good enough.
Absolutely.
When in fact you are always good enough.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I find on my journey that you said that the last poem you just said was your journey. I found on my journey, I used to be led by guilt a lot. Guilt almost took my life. But you know what? Forgiveness to myself and allowing myself to be perfectly imperfect and showing myself kindness is what has allowed my life to flourish and brought me here today. Right? So that's why I love those particular poems. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I could tell that was an emotional experience for you. What would you call that one? That was called
The Guilt That Stole Christmas.
the guilt that stole Christmas. And it's what's beautiful about it is it's true. Everything you say is so true. Like, this is how we experience life, how we go through life. What
Yeah.
compels us to be something different than what we actually are, or to be better, or to strive for perfection.
Reminds me of a line from one of my spiritual studies, A Course in Miracles. It says, "Look around you. The world that you're seeing is a world filled with people made mad by guilt." And Paramahansa Yogananda said, it's most helpful and the closest to reality to view the world as a big mental institution. Like, we all have a mental illness. You can call it fear, guilt, whatever it is. It's not natural. It's not human nature. It's not the way we were designed to live. It is an illness. And just the fact that almost everyone has it, that doesn't make it normal. It's not the way we were intended to live.
Exactly. I like that too, right? It doesn't make it normal just because everybody does it.
Yeah.
Learn behavior.
Or even if it is normal, to me, normal is a setting on a washing machine, but it doesn't have anything to do with real life. And even if you call it normal, we can all agree that it's not natural. Children aren't born with guilt, and they're quite in the moment, playful and in touch with their true nature. Then we get educated by parents and school systems and just the vibe of the culture to, in a sense, ingest the Kool-Aid of our culture, which is based on fear and guilt.
Yeah, it's sad and it's unfortunate. And what I love about it is that no one knows how to truly live. I don't think anybody actually knows this because everyone's always seeking someone else's version. And unless we were sort of just completely detached from any expectations or any learned behavior and truly making it on our own. And I say that, but at the same time, I believe that everyone should live the life that they want to lead based on the rule of kindness. Do what you want to do. Live the life that you want to live, but be kind. Don't harm others. Don't harm yourself. That's it. That's the only rule, I think. But in my life, if I were to go out and do whatever I wanted to do tomorrow and no more conformity, the only thing I would abide by is that rule, is to be kind to others, be kind to myself, and just experience life and all the freedom it has to offer you. So what's next for you down in Mexico City with your roosters?
Yeah, my roosters. They're not mine. They're the neighbors, actually. Oh, I am focusing on speaking, colleges, addiction centers. Really, I'm setting my sights high. I can see myself in front of a Google or an Apple type of corporation. It's the next step for me. Podcasts have been like going to the gym, feeling my muscles, feeling more solid, feeling more confident. It's been invaluable. And I know that now, it used to really scare me to be interviewed on podcasts. Now it's my comfort zone, and I'm beginning to fall asleep. I need to wake myself up and do something scary as hell. So I'm doing it.
Yes, I love that. Have you thought about a TED Talk?
Yeah, but you know what? Not right now. Yeah. No, I mean, like I even looked at the application process.
Oh, so it's very competitive.
Yeah.
But I think that you have something unique to offer, right?
I do.
Some people are going to receive it. Some people are not going to receive it, but that's an ish them, not an ish you, right?
I've never heard that before. That's very cute.
Well, I will tell you something. My boss, and not really my boss, but the lead on a project that I'm consulting for, used this one day, and I had the same reaction that you had. I laughed. I thought it was brilliant. So I told her I was taking it and I was going to incorporate this in my life, that it's an ish them, not an ish you. So here we are, right? And I think that that's it. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. No one is going to be everybody's cup of tea. However, we will be someone's, right? And
Now,
if we are fearful, go ahead.
I won't be everyone's cup of tea. I might be too stimulating. They might prefer caffeine free. Maybe we'll agree to disagree. I am not trying to be everyone's friend. Those days of seeking to be popular have come to an end. Now it's okay for me to be liked, or I know it's more about them than this being called Scott. So I let people live. I hope that they're kind, but then there's people who pay kindness no mind. And I'm learning to accept these unacceptable folks and just have some kindness and tell some jokes. Because we don't need more heavy stuff on this earth. Let's get along with kindness and mirth. Because this earth needs another birth. And you and I are pregnant.
Well, the earth does need some kindness at this moment, for sure. I pray daily. I manifest. I ask the spirits and the universe to do whatever needs to be done to heal the world and bring us out to whatever our next version of life. Because I think life as we've known it for the last century or two is about to sort of change in a drastic way, and we're going to sort of start anew. Now that sounds super like conspiracy theory. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think we go through cycles, right? So, oh, there's a guitar. But,
All right. I got to go pretty soon, and I want to take what you just said and share a song I wrote about it. And I wrote it in 1994, but it's more relevant than ever.
All right.
There's a steady stream of wonder as I choose to make amends to the lightning and the thunder. Could it be they are my friends? There's a crack in fear's foundation. What was solid turns to dust. It's divine disintegration, and it's teaching me to trust. Opening my trust. There's a sun inside me dawning. There's a flood of tears to feel. There's a global heart that's warming, getting warmer as I heal. So much warmer as we heal. There's a steady stream of wonder. There's excitement in the air as the lightning and the thunder pours her waters on our cares. There's a choice for celebration as we frolic in the storms. It's divine restoration, and it's why we have been born. We are bringers of the dawn. There's an earth inside me quaking, and there's a flood of tears to feel. There's a global heart that's waking, getting stronger as I heal. So much stronger as we heal. The changes have arrived. No place left to hide, and Mother Earth She's giving birth to a star. Breathing deep through the labor pains, somehow we embrace the change. For midwives of the light is what we are. Yes, midwives of the light is what we are. We are.
Thank you. Well, that was lovely, and you are officially my first musical guest on the show. So Scott
Wonderful.
Grace will always hold that title. I've never had
Always.
someone sing for me on my podcast before. I really like the song, and it is in line with what's happening right now, because I do believe that it always gets darkest before the dawn,
Yeah.
right? So we're going to see massive change within the next 4 to 8 years.
Yeah.
A decade from now, I don't know if we'll look back and recognize technically how we're living. Things will have changed so much. So, and I know that that's unnerving for people to hear as well. But I think don't live in fear. Just ride the storm. Be kind. Be yourself. For everybody at home, scottsongs.com. You can catch all of Scott's music. He does life coaching. He does song portraits. I'm not quite sure what that is. He has free treats as well. He has Scott's Musical Medicine Cabinet, Scott's Mindful Comedy. He also has a blog. Like, it's literally a treasure trove of Scott Grace and Spiritual Dr. Seuss. So head over to scottsongs.com today.
Let me just say that out loud. It's SCOTTSONGS. Sometimes people hear it, they think it's Scott's song. So it's not plural on the Scott, only plural on the songs.
We'll also link it in the description of this podcast as well, so everybody will see it. And go buy the book, Mindful Masculinity. Let's help our men learn to process their emotions and become more mindful. A mass migration from macho to mindful.
You got
Did I get it right? Okay, perfect.
You missed one M, but I'm not going to hold it against you.
Migration.
I must go.
Okay, you have to go.
It's the massive masculine migration from macho to mindful.
Mindful. Okay, perfect. Well, everyone, thank you very much, Scott, for being on the show.
It's been a pleasure.
I wish you all the best. And for everyone at home, enjoy yourself, and we'll talk next week.
For media and sponsorship inquiries, email info@cksims.com or visit cksims.com and fill out the contact form. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. A new episode airs every Saturday. CKS Media.